Hello, welcome to yet another beautiful and amazing episode of Let's Talk with Sandra A. It's actually been a while, but it's good to have you back. Thanks to our new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so that you follow content in line with marriage, womanhood, relationships, and being better. And so today we want to navigate submission in marriage as a topic, which briefly I would say is the act of yielding to authority. And so today we want to know who is supposed to submit. What does it take to submit and all these things? And today we are honored to host 3 gallant men, because we're like, how do we talk about submission in marriage without the men? So right on my far right is Mr. Payira Boni. He is a father, to start with, and besides being a father, he is a husband. He's passionate about media. He is the CEO of Nyukana Nutrition, a company manufacturing nutritious porridge flour, CEO Humanists in Northern Uganda, a CBO promoting humanistic values through education, with a nursery and primary school in Koch Ongaro. He is married with children, and he is an atheist.
Wow. You need to emphasize that more.
Like in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, Sandra, you're going to mention this? Yeah, he is an atheist. And then on my left is Mr. Kasozi. We are again honored to host you. He works with a program lead for Star Education, a well-known personality in the health and education sector. He is a father, he is a husband, and a friend. He's now part of the family. Welcome again to the show. Thank you. And of course, my Lord is also on the show, Mr. Rajkara Brian. I know today the balls will be hitting here and there, but babe, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like the way you look at your.
Okay, so straight away, what's your take on submission? And I want to start with the ladies. And of course, this is Sarah Akena Akerowa. I am Sandra Abe Rajkar for our new followers. Yeah, so let's hear from Sarah on her take on submission.
Well, thank you. Submission to me is something that shouldn't be coerced, like it shouldn't be forced. Mm-hmm. Submission, especially in marriage, you don't need to demand for it. You get it. If you're a husband or if you're a man, you don't need to demand that your wife submits to you. It should be something that is voluntary, that comes. You get it. So that's my take, basically, on submission.
Okay. Before I invite them, let me give my take.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I feel, again, I'm Christian, I'm born again, and I believe in God, unlike my other brother. Yes. So for me, I am so grounded on the biblical aspect that is in Ephesians 5:20, and you go downwards, where, of course, the instruction is clear that wives, submit to your own husbands, just as the church submits to Jesus Christ. And for me, I take submission as something that cuts across both in tradition, in religion, even for non-believers. I'm sure every man would want a woman to submit to him, because that is actually what makes marriage beautiful. And for me, I treat submission as one of the principles, the core values that upholds a marriage. Like, you know how you're building a house, you lay a foundation and all these things. I feel submission is one of the ingredients that makes a marriage very solid and firm. So let me hear from Mr. Payira Boni.
Who?
The atheist.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
Yes.
And the team. One thing you forgot to mention is that I am also the CEO of Paira Ventures,
Oh wow, wow.
which is does a lot in real estate management,
Okay.
farm management. So those are the few things.
Okay.
Outside other things in the human rights and the rest.
All right.
Now, submission. I want us to go back to where the whole story of submission came from,
Okay.
apart from the Bible.
Oh yes.
Let us look at why today, when we are talking about submission, we give examples of our grandparents and parents.
Oh yeah.
That our mothers were submissive to our fathers.
Yes.
Our grandmothers were submissive to our grandfathers. Now, this is because it felt like submission, because a woman had and knew her role in a home. A woman left her father's home knowing that I am going to this man's home as a wife. And what were the roles of a woman? To take care of your husband,
Oh yes.
to take care of your children, to build a home. That entailed, when I come back from hunting,
Yes.
I am tired. I don't need to carry water to go to the bathroom.
Lol.
So my wife, she would want to take care of me by taking that water, and then I bathe, and then she'll say, no, don't carry the basin, I'll come and carry that basin.
Leave the basin there.
Yes.
The basin there. It's my role as your wife.
Oh yeah.
Now, you get to understand, we are getting to submission as roles that everyone plays in a marriage. And a submission is not on the left. For me, I think submission is not on the left for a
The
woman.
Okay.
Men do submit. But how do men submit? When we get back to the roles of a man and a woman in a home. One, my role as a man is to provide. My role as a man is to lead. I'm the leader in this home.
Oh yes.
Now that means I am submitting to the roles assigned to me as a married man, or as a husband, as a father. Now my wife also has her roles. That means she's going to have to submit to her roles as a wife. But the literal meaning of submission is accepting to be controlled. That's what it is. The literal meaning of submission is for someone to accept to be controlled, or someone to control another. Now that is where I disagree with calling it submission. Because if we go to the meaning, it kills what I believe marriage is supposed to look like. Marriage for me, it is partnership. And let us not forget that, I hope I'm not over talking. I still have more time. Why I think marriage is partnership is because let us look at life today. Life today is full of uncertainties of maintaining your job and getting a job. And this is pressing men more than it is pressing women. And because also the weight of taking responsibility of running a home, it is on a man more than it is on a woman. Now, why it becomes a partnership is, today I am earning 10 million every month. My wife is earning 2 million every month. Tomorrow, my wife is going to be lucky and she gets promoted and she's earning 50 million every month.
Absolutely.
And I am losing my job. I don't have a job. Now, are we not going to switch roles? Immediately something like that happened. You are renting a house of 1 million every month. You were able to pay it because you are earning 10 million. Now you lost your job, you don't have a job, your wife is earning 50 million. Are you still going to be forced to pay rent? Of course, you're not going to be forced to pay rent. That is when roles. Now, when does
So, in other words, you're trying to say, for your example, that means, of course, God forbid, Brian loses his job, and then I'm now taking up the mantle of providing. Are you trying to say that since I take up the roles, Brian has to submit to me?
Brian will have, like I said, I don't believe in submission in its literal meaning.
Okay.
I am going to put it in the roles we play in the home.
Okay.
Brian is not submitting to you, but is submitting to the roles you're playing at the moment. You get it? You're earning more. He's earning nothing. He has to accept that, in this current situation, I'm unable to do this. Let me allow my wife to do it. While I look for alternatives, while I look for a way of getting her out of it, and I take the full control.
So, that means for you, you believe submission is just in roles.
Yes, strongly believe that it is a role that we all take. Okay.
No, but sorry, but I think from your explanation, it's like you're saying, because from what you've listed down, those are like obligations. You're a man in the house and you're supposed to go hunting probably and come back with food. That is an obligation. You can never run away from that. I'm looking at submission in that angle. The way you're explaining, it's like, let's say you are the man and I'm the woman. And the fact that I can offer myself to take for you bathing water there and also maybe carry the basin back, you as a man, you also can submit by way of, if you've erred, if you've wronged me, come down and apologize. Maybe acknowledge your mistake and then say, honey, I'm sorry, this happened because of... To me, that is a way of submitting and then doing it, voluntarily, if I could say. But the things you're listing to me are just obligations.
That's why, because then I take you to the question of, what are the things you are married? What are the things you submit to your man?
For me, the things I would say I submit it is, first of all, when I'm going out, I have a function out and I know I'm coming back late, by calling him or notifying him in advance that I'll be going out with friends and I might not come back early enough. That is already submission.
No, for me, that is being responsible.
Okay,
you get it.
I love how the conversation is hitting up.
For me, it is being responsible.
Okay. So let's hear from Mr. Kasozi.
Before Kasozi, can I just make
please,
this?
Yeah.
You see, when even me, when I'm doing something, when I was coming here, I told my wife, that I am going for this conversation.
That is submission.
Yes. No, for me, it is I am being responsible. That
don't you think you're just trying to interchange words?
I have someone that I am that is responsible to my everyday activities.
You account to
someone I account to on everything. I do not. It is not a submission when I tell her, honey, tomorrow my day is going to be like this. I am just being accountable to whatever I do.
Okay, I think, help me understand as we conclude with you. For you, submission is not that it's only the wife that must submit to the husband, but otherwise both of you submit to each other basing on the roles.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's hear from Mr. Kasozi.
Thank you very much. For me, when we focus on submission, I would want to share a balanced perspective about submission that cross-cuts from cultural, religious, and also on a personal basis. I would break this down into two aspects. One being the religious way, of which most of us have literally talked about it, where it's clearly said that men should love their wives and women Should submit. Should. Let's mark the word should. Yes. However, allow me focus back onto the modern perspective, where I am focusing on equity and partnership. While living together as husband and wife, as a couple, we do acknowledge that the biggest percentage of submission comes from a woman. However, we don't really need to rubber stamp it and say, men shouldn't submit. Men also do submit, but it clearly comes out in a smaller percentage.
Okay.
But also still focusing on that, this should come as a mutual submission.
Oh yes.
Why am I saying this? A woman should never be coerced or forced or pushed into submitting. Literally, for a woman to submit, as a man, you should be playing your part.
High five. Yes.
Today, we have men who do not play their part in a home.
Yes.
Even when they do not really have the money to provide. And then you expect a woman to submit. Trust me, it won't happen that way. You will not really have to carry your wife's bathing water in a basin and take to the bathroom. But what you offer for the family is very key. You can still lead as a man and you're not submitting. And this is one thing that we always need to focus on. And I have a few key considerations I would really love to talk about. One is consent and willingness. It's very key. When a woman has to consent and be willing to submit, and that will really give us the main frame of how to live life as a man or woman in a family. But also, communication and agreement is another thing that brings submission. We have men who have very few words, and for them, they are full of actions. But unless you come out and sit your wife, whom you really sat down and said, today I really want to marry this woman, or 5 years ago you married this woman, unless you can sit down and communicate as a couple and also have an agreement, an agreed point really has to come in. For me, that is what I would zero down and say it's submission. Lastly, balance of power. In most families, husbands or men are the alpha and omega. But when we look at where the world is moving in today, if we still continue living that way, like we're living with our parents or our grandparents, then trust me, we shall not really have the balance of power. That is where our children, as men, our children are used against us, whereby they say, if you don't do this, I am going to tell your father and he will beat you. And we are used as a punishing tool at home. And at the end of the day, at old age, our children
remain alone,
siding with their mother because we did punish them. So indirectly, we are really being thrown in by our wives at an early age. So unless we really have the balance of power, we shall continue facing those challenges.
Wow.
I think that is what I would share.
Can I, there's something you say that I feel maybe I should,
Please.
From the submission somewhere at the beginning, it felt like women do submit to money.
I will agree.
So now that is where it leaves us to the question of roles, and then what is your use as a man without money?
Exactly.
So because they submit to money, it leaves submission, it leaves a man outside
of the
reason the woman submitted.
I would want to agree with you and literally take it up from there. When we also talk about submission, at some point we did talk about sharing roles. For me, I would add in that sharing roles and responsibilities. In most cases, men are taken as the horse should have a very hard and strong back. Whatever is loaded onto your back, you really need to be in position.
You don't cry.
You don't cry, which is very wrong. And for me now, when we come to submission, I would say balance of power, and then we need to really share responsibilities. And that is going to give us room. Even today when I don't have, and tomorrow I have, still my wife will be in position to submit.
Absolutely.
She will not really say that after all, at the end of the day, he doesn't bring any penny home. So I can walk back home at 10. And that is where the issue is. Even when I do not provide, but we have a shared responsibility at home, that means that I'm not going to have a dry run. Tomorrow I'm going to have.
Absolutely.
It's just like when a man says, I am broke, it doesn't mean he has $0 in his account.
Ask me.
Yes. So I think that is what I could say.
Okay, let's hear from Brian. Right, Kara.
Baby.
My baby.
The one and only.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Queen. Payera and Kasoze actually digested almost everything. To me, I may differ in one way that submission actually comes naturally. Actually, it's a role, as Payera put. You know, we come from a society where people always see women submitting to. Actually, people think women should submit to men. Okay?
By default.
Yeah, by default. Whereby a man decides on his own whatever to do. He dictates, actually, I should put like that. But submission, according to the Bible, we as Christians, we should also submit to our church leaders. Yeah. So submission, generally, to me, I understand it's the ability for you to put yourself in a position to be led, to be guided, whereby as a wife, you should put yourself in that position where if your husband says, you know what, do this, you should be able to.
Are you talking directly to her?
I can say yes. To give him a sense.
Because it looks serious.
Well, you see, actually, this is why I didn't want to have
No. You see, you should appreciate that there are these moments.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, as a married man, there are things, okay, and unfortunately for me, we will talk about just anything.
Oh, yeah.
So, but in most cases, husband and wife never talk about these hard topics.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Very true.
It always comes at the time when something has happened.
Yeah.
Then the man will blow up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You're right.
The woman will blow up. But they don't have this free time to talk about these things. So, guys, feel good.
Aww. Yes, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would also concur with Kasozi.
Yes.
As a man, you can also submit to your wife. Okay? Earlier on, before we started the show, Payera was putting it that, you know, during the days of single life, you know, there were things which you could do just like that because, you know, you are single.
Oh, yeah.
But the moment you got yourself a soulmate, at least you have to throw away certain things.
True.
Absolutely.
Not only the things that you do, but also decision making, you know, as you're also planning to grow, you also need to also include this person. Yeah, you sit down, you put things together, you say, as a man, you know, I had this vision. Yeah, I think in 5 years' time, as a family, we need to do this. So we have marriages where wives wake up in the morning and you hear your husband has built somewhere. You don't even know how it started.
Yeah.
Right? So submission is not like a prison. It is the ability of two people coming, sitting down together, and of course, bringing everything on the table and discussing. And you agree and disagree as you move forward.
Wow.
Actually, there's where on a house, on houses, the husbands always take up the role of the architect doing their work, basically all the designing work. They may even take up the whole responsibility of construction and the rest.
Yeah.
But when it comes to painting, you are not going to make that decision alone.
Thank you.
Now, when it comes to also,
The colours
when it comes to the kitchen, how the kitchen should look, you're going to have to ask your wife.
So there you're submitting.
That is submission. You see, that's why I
True.
keep saying that it is marriage for me. It is partnership.
Yeah.
Where I do not do.
Kasozi wants to agree.
I really want to agree. I did walk into a paint shop, and there was a notice that clearly said that we shall not mix any paint without your wife's.
The owner of that place must have had an
Trust me, those guys make colors. However, besides that, I would also really look at the positive attributes of submission. One is, you have a strengthened bond. When you have a mutual agreement and, you both submit to each
I
other.
think that is coming right away. In our last question, what are some of the misconceptions about submission?
Yes.
What are the things that people think submission is and yet it is not? And then what are the things that people think submission is not and yet it is? So, ladies and gentlemen,
Well, I think I can go first.
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
Most women, I should say, career women, the new set of women, I should say,
Yeah.
new breed of wives.
They
Think.
have made my money.
They think if you're submitting to a man, you have no opinion.
The weak.
You're weak. You're going to be controlled. You cannot do anything on your own. I think it's wrong. Totally wrong. Right? Because first of all, when you are entering into marriage, when you start courtship, you will have that time to sit down with your guy. You discuss, you agree and disagree. I like that word. Yeah. So when you decide now that, next year is the time when you are sitting down and you're starting a family, you already know that I had my plan as a single girl. You also had his plan as a man. So when we come in as a family now, are you coming to compete? Are you coming to pull ropes? Are you coming to show power? Of course not. So one thing, ladies out there, that you should know is when you get a man and you settle down with, your opinion matters. Is your head yes? For her, she always tells me I'm the neck.
Yeah, which is
I
true.
twist you.
Which is true.
That means you guy will come out with the opinion, put it on the table, you sit down together, and you discuss it.
beautiful.
For the betterment of both of you and your family.
Yeah.
Secondly, most women, when you look at our mothers, our grandmothers those days, some of them were battered, they had no voice, you were already in the man's house. Also, your family cannot now support you going back, whether you're finding difficulties in the marriage or not. I think marriage is not a battleground, where if you as a woman you have come in to support a man, then now the man should now battle you and mistreat you and the rest. You have come as a helper.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear from Bonnie. I want us the ladies to talk last.
Like I said, in its literal meaning, it's control.
Which is true.
Accepting to be controlled.
Absolutely.
But in our today's society, we need to start redefining what submission should look like. Is it going to be me telling you that when you're serving me water, you have to kneel down? Or is it going to be like, I do not eat mate's food, I must eat your food? Or it is going to come from the wife, that you know what, okay, there are also traditional men who, I brought you here as my wife to cook for me, so I am not going to be but it should also come from the woman to say, okay, this is my husband. This is my responsibility. Now, on the question of the misconceptions, I like Brian said, in today's world, with the women's rights,
women empowerment,
feminism, all these things, it has made it a battleground for who should be in control. Trust me, even when a woman tells you that, I am here as your wife to do whatever you ask me, at the back of her mind, she's saying, let him try.
Let him try.
The other knob.
You get to know.
Yes.
So,
And indeed, you get to know.
Once you try like this, the next day you're not going to eat.
Both foods.
And by the way, submission doesn't end only in greetings, food, and the rest. Even in bedroom. We were talking and we talked about the whole idea, like when Brian said, because you think you now have a lot of money. Let me take back to the example I gave of you're earning 50 million and then me have lost my job. And then a woman who is submissive to the growth of her home will even sit with her husband that now there's money. There's some money, even if you don't get a job, there's money. But what can we do with this money?
Oh, yeah.
To keep you busy. But the misconception is that when I give this guy money,
he will change his mind. He'll get another woman.
I am not even get another. I am a very stupid wife to give my husband money. The same applies. If I were this man, gets his salary, we after getting our salary, we first sit down and budget for our drinking, our this, our that, our that. Then later we come back home and say, honey,
after you've budgeted, we know
we are going this the rest that we
we're supposed to budget together, even for your drinking.
Let me tell you, ladies,
a woman will slot that percent.
We've learned the secret. We've learned the secrets today.
Thank you for informing us.
Let me tell you, ladies, this is a place we are going to be very honest. When I receive my money and I accept to come and say, sweetheart or lover girl, I've got this money, can we plan? Do you know what guys will say? This one has been bewitched.
Which is okay. I feel what's
okay. This has been bewitched 100%.
Is in the bottle.
Is in the bottle because how dare a man gets his salary and gives everything to a woman to plan?
No, we're not saying you give everything. The thing is, sit us down
and plan for that money.
Yes.
Don't hand over that
It's
money.
the misconception that once a man submits to sharing ideas
looked at as
with his money, it is a weakness.
Oh yeah,
he has been bewitched. Whichever language one will want to use. So I think also the fact that society has created a man as just like children see us. Our children see us as John Rambo. Our children see us as
Richest.
The richest. I remember I used to tell the first time I saw 10,000 was from my father. Then I went to school. I told my father has 10,000. My father is rich. That was in the 90s. Of course, that money was a lot. So, because we have put us, like you said, the alphas and the omega, and you are the neck. Some people even don't put their wives as the neck. you are somewhere in the knee.
Or in the fingers.
Or in the fingers. The fingers
But
seems
the
to
thing
be
is,
here. Right? The fingers seems to be still here.
Wow.
So they take you where down, where you switch at least from here you go straight down. So because society has put us up there, anything less of what we supposed to do up there becomes inferiority.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Makes sense.
And yet, and you know, I have lived a very simple life all my life, and I've enjoyed it, and I still live and enjoy it. Because when you are married, one, your wife expects a lot from you if she doesn't know you. Two, your family members also expect a lot from you.
Yeah.
Now, a traditional man will want to appear like my wife has not controlled me. So the whole message sometimes is, when we are out there, please at least try to kneel when you're serving me. At least try to kneel when you're serving me. When we are out, you can even stand like a god and serve me, no problem.
Send me to go and serve
You
you.
can even send me to get for you what I will do. But when we are out, you try.
Even if pretending.
Yes, try to say, honey, sit. Let me go and serve and bring for you.
Won't that be?
Is that submission? It is. But it is for me now, that is the real submission of accepting to be controlled.
Okay. Wow.
Now, because I don't believe in control, it becomes a bad. It makes it a bad perception towards submission. Because it feels like control. Deep inside, I'll feel like I'm controlling this babe. And yet, maybe it is her role. Someone will say, this man has managed to control this girl. You see, he sits and they serve him. And she has taken up her role of respecting her man in front of the world.
Wow, let's hear from Kasozi.
Beautiful. Quite a number of things has clearly come out from my brother, and I would really want to agree with him 100%. But looking at a few misconceptions in submission, especially in marriage, one of them is that there's a misconception that submission is one-sided.
Oh yeah.
Or it should be one-sided.
Yeah.
This is not true. I will come out and clearly and say it's not. One other thing is that submission, cancels out a personal agency, whereby we look at the man as the autonomous body. But in real sense, once we really put that aside, it gives us room to have a free bargain plea, and we can come to an agreed point. But also submission, people clearly come out and say submission justifies control or abuse, which is not true. It never justifies that.
But I feel it brings actually more peace.
It actually brings in more. But also, we have people who clearly have this misconception that submission is outdated.
Oh yeah.
The feminists.
Yeah.
Feminists.
There was a heated conversation on social media
Yes.
that
Yes.
who should make the bed in the morning.
Yes.
Then I saw one interesting comment
Yes.
that whoever gets out of the bed last.
That is what happens in my house.
Wow. Let's go back to outdated.
Yes. So
That is interesting.
we have this perception that submission.
Then you would lay our bed every day.
No, by the way, men when they are free, they are the last
To get
every
out,
day
to get out of bed.
Yes.
When we are free, we are the last.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. However much, even when we have those policies, at the end of the day, we sometimes skip them. But our women are soft; they still go ahead and do, which is okay. You know, as men, sometimes we're ninjas.
And we don't do it better.
Exactly.
Like, no, you have done it, but it's not working.
And sometimes you even do it,
Yes.
you don't do it right.
Yeah.
But on purpose.
That you can
So
first
that, you know,
try.
may disqualify you. But also the other side, we look at submission as agreeing to everything. That is one misconception, which is literally not true.
Yeah.
When you submit as a couple, you have a standpoint where you say, I don't go beyond this.
Oh, yeah.
And there's this agreed point where you say, I am really very okay to compromise this for peace to prevail. And
Wow.
I strongly believe that if we can really wrap off these misconceptions among the people and the peers and the families where we come from and the clans where we come from, we would really make our homes a better place. Second last, we always say submission is only for women and not for men. This is not true. And that is why the children we are giving birth to today and training look at some of the gender roles as a punishment. It's because of our own backgrounds and where we have come from. And lastly, I would say submission is about sacrifice. Unless you learn and accept the sacrifice and say, okay, with this situation, I am going to be in position to do this for this to happen. One thing I've learned from women is that when your birthday comes first, they will buy you a gift of 100. You get it? And technically, as men, we are knocked down to even give her a whole surprise party. And how I wish every woman learned that, they would be in heaven.
Hello. Okay, let's hear from Sarah.
Before, it's like submission becomes how do I call it? For every man.
Yes.
By the way, so sometimes we submit to certain conversation because we want peace.
Yes.
I want to agree. Yeah.
Just say,
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Just say, love a girl. It's okay.
It's okay.
But we know it is not okay. But
For peace
because
to reign.
peace has to be there. You have to also eat that food at night.
Yes.
There must be peace. So you have to create it.
So
By
you
saying
to call that
it's
assembly.
Yes, okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I understand that. But you know, what you say, because you're even, when you're not there, you even forget what she's saying. But then you just say, yeah, it is okay, you know. Yeah, like the other thing you say, that one. But you are not there. You're just okay because you want the night food.
All right, let's hear
Yeah,
from Sarah.
I want to pick up from where Mr. Kasozi stopped, and I'm also borrowing from Mr. Payera's explanation. It seems the society.
Night food?
No. Yeah, it seems society has put it out there that submission should only come from
Women.
From women. And based on your explanation, where you said sometimes you fear what the society will say. If you do certain things, then they will say this one has been bewitched.
Indeed.
Now I'm looking at that means you cannot even help your wife wash clothes together because neighbors will see you and they'll be like, Payera, this one is finished. You cannot even go to the kitchen and cook together because, what if your brother comes around and find you cooking? You get it? So you people still do it in hiding. Especially you. I think you still do it in hiding because you fear what the society will tell you. Yeah.
To surprise you, I don't give a F about what society says, does, think, do.
Yes.
Because my relationship
It's a person.
is my relationship.
Absolutely.
I didn't ask society to consent
In order to marry
in order for me to marry. I did not ask anyone apart from her
To marry.
if she's okay.
So do you now agree that when you get your money, before you first plan for your beers, you can actually come home and say, money has come.
No.
Now let's plan.
You're lying. That one, zero.
That is why, let me tell you guys one secret. That's why when you ask for a man, babe, I need some 20,000 or I need some 50K. You'll be having a 500K bundle in his wallet. Guy will first walk for a short call.
You'll do this.
No, he'll want to do that. We don't do that. He walks for short call or he goes to pick a hanky in the bedroom. Then he comes back with 70K in one side of the pocket. So he'll pull the 70K, says, babe, you know what?
This is what is
But it's okay, let me give you the 50 and remain with 20.
Hello.
But he has like 250.
And also, we our fingers can tell the test of a 50,000.
No.
50,000.
You're not that
10,000,
level.
5,000, 10,000. That's why when you say you want 5K, and it is in the middle of a 2020.
You're top notch. I give
Trust
up.
me, we are going to put the 5K.
Yeah,
And give you, without even looking at what we have picked, we give you the exact 5K.
wow.
So these fingers you see here
It's a talent.
is a talent we may have. We pick exactly what you've asked for, and yet maybe that was the only 5K.
Sarah, do you have
Yeah.
anything to
No,
say?
just
about
maybe
the
the last
misconception?
one is the misconception that people have about submission is they think it should be worshipping. Like,
My Lord.
as the wife now, I should be down there all the
But
time.
as a
Whatever you
Christian-
say, yes.
But as a Christian, don't you think you should?
No, but
Really? Because your husband is your
no, I'm not
husband.
supposed to worship my husband. But just like he said, we are supposed to agree how things should be done, and then and it should be voluntary.
And
So it's not like I should now be the yes kind of a woman. Every time you tell me something, yes, my Lord.
And
Every time,
so in regards to that, I would implore women not to fear their husbands, but to respect their husbands.
but we don't fear.
But the indirect attribute is that women fear their husbands. They don't respect their husbands.
No, we fear them based on how they treat. Because you people think we should worship you. That
Actually,
is not what
they
brings the fear.
What
Yes.
they fear, according to what you said sometimes, and they all agreed, is that what they fear is the money. What they respect is also the money.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, the moment is very common.
Yes.
The moment a man loses his job, that is when submission stops.
No,
And
but it
that's
also
a
depends on how the man is now treating himself at that point when he doesn't have the money.
Basing on the bigger percentage of what happens in our society.
Or maybe I would say that.
No, but that is just a mindset, Mr.
because-
Payira. Yeah, it's just the insecurity
But
that
my
comes to
wife-
the man.
Took care of me last year, September to December.
Please look at the camera to prove that we are still good
When
women.
my contract ended,
Absolutely.
of being the NGO, 4 months down the road, should feel the car,
Without complaining.
give me
Maybe please
feed
give
me,
testimonies.
pay rent, give me money to go to the bar. And she says, babe, you've really stayed home for long. Go take time with the boys.
Yeah.
And we are living
Isn't that the same thing I started with in our conversation? That you see, in this society now, we don't go hunting. Those days, our grandparents, all they knew was to give food home. Only and then they stayed in a free home.
Wow.
Their parents' is home. But now, you cannot stay in your parents' home. You have to rent out. You have to look for food. You have to look for money for hair. You have to look for money for nails. You have to look for money for makeups. You have to look for school fees. You have to look for all those things. So things have totally changed. In that once a man loses his job like this, first of all, the threat that comes from within him,
Exactly the insecurity I was talking about.
the threat that comes from within him, that now I'm not going to be able to pay rent.
Yeah.
Now, also the empowerment of women.
That's it.
I think maybe we may not discuss it today, but I think the empowering of women was done badly, where it appeared like you go and challenge that man, you go and fight with him in the house, let him not tell you what to do. You do what you want to do. You sit with him on the table, talk to him about this, even when the things you clearly. By the way, there are times when I do not need to tell my wife I am buying this land.
let's not go there.
You will buy and tell her later.
This one,
Or not even tell her.
no, you tell her. Because
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I feel my opinion is really going to be different. Me, I use the Bible for my source of truth. Wives are supposed to submit to their husbands. Husbands are supposed to love their wives. And you people, you don't know, love is actually the harder work. Because
and it is what you want us to do.
exactly, love is the harder work. And dear women, I feel submission is easier
When
than
you're loved.
when you're loved.
Yeah.
But again, in the chronology, we are instructed first. Wives, submit ye to your husbands.
With or without love.
Okay? And husbands, love your wives. You get the point? Now, the only problem is submission comes with a negative connotation. Most women receive submission from the negative point of view. Like everything to do with submission to them is negative, or they think the man has to be right all the time and all these things. But submission, honestly speaking, for me, I feel once a woman submits to her husband, the benefit is yours.
The home becomes so peaceful.
Yeah, the home becomes so peaceful and definitely for you. So for me, when you say a man has to submit, I don't so much agree with it. However, I feel it's with the women that are called to submit, and then the men are supposed to lead and love. So how, of course, now leadership is, submission is of course in every aspect, but in that part of marriage, I feel it would be better for a wife to submit to the husband without having the negative connotations or thoughts of my money or this and that. So this was a very, 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 very beautiful conversation. And please join the conversation by dropping your comments and sharing with us your experiences. It's been Payira Boni, Kasozi Osborne, Mr. Rajkara Brian, Sarah Kenna, and myself, Sandra A. Rajkara. With love from Let's Talk with Sandra A.
Yeah. Bye.